guys, hey, welcome to the Analog Life. I'm so glad you guys joined me. Hey, did you know that before Facebook, before Twitter, before all these social media networks that exist currently, did you know that there was actually social media that just relied on radio waves? Let's learn some more. What is ham radio, you may ask? This is basically radio networks of people all over the world that rely on these really powerful radio antennas and receivers and transmitters to talk to each other. It is actually not one that you can just go on to operate a ham radio without training. So there will be a series of videos that I will be showing on this because I'm actually friends with one of the guys who is a really heavy enthusiast of ham radio. This is the first in the series of videos that I will be doing on ham radio, and I hope you enjoy it. So fasten your seatbelt and let's go fly.
When I was, I think, 2.5 or 3 years old, and I was old enough to walk, I got into this storeroom which had all kinds of stuff stored in it, like TVs and rabbit ear antennas and whatnot, and I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know what it was, but it piqued my interest. And then my dad had a shortwave radio that I would play with when he wasn't home, and the stuff coming out of it really grabbed my interest because I didn't know what it was, but I wanted to know more. And then what I didn't know is that my dad had taken a correspondence course from National Radio Institute of Electronics, and I found all of his kit. And of course, kids take stuff apart, right? So I took everything apart, and it ended up being disposed of. That was my interest. It was the thing about the radio was it represented. I didn't know it at the time how to express it, but to articulate it now is it's a connection to the universe. Got it?
Let's just see if I can unload it.
That's hard.
Okay.
You need more force to look at this stuff than just
Okay, question here.
Yeah.
You're taking this.
There's a pulley up there.
Now watch Guy wears it.
That's correct. Okay. Good. Now I need that thing. Keep that on the debris.
The beam is composed of your reflector element is out on the far end, your longest element. Then you come in as your driven element, and then the next elements are directors. which direct your beam to the direction you want it to go, down your boom. And that's the basics of a beam antenna. You have to have a reflector for gain, and then your driven directors. Okay, when Gerard gets down off the tower, we're going to rig it so we can fly the antenna part way up. And what the reasoning is for that, we want to check the resonant frequency of the antenna to make sure that it's within the band at the lowest SWR reading we can get. So we may have to bring it up and down a few times, or it might be right on frequency when we test it. And if it is, then we can fly it up to the top of the tower and mount it. The lower your SWR, the better performance of your antenna. You want your beam to be pointing and directing the signal towards the station that you're trying to talk to.
I'm not exactly 100% sure, but it goes back to when I was in high school. We had an amateur radio station at the high school, and the shop teacher, my electrical teacher, introduced me to ham radio and got me in an introductory course. So that was quite a few years ago, about 50 years ago. I didn't get my license right away. It was quite a few years before I got back into the hobby and got the license, but it was from that initial exposure back in the like high school days. It was very valuable to me in that I learned all my basic electrical and electronics, and I moved that off into my career as a power engineer and used that knowledge quite extensively during my working life. That's something that's quite common with a lot of ham radio operators, is that they've used that knowledge in their careers as well as their hobby.
I guess it's about the fraternity, sharing knowledge in a common interest, and everybody comes to the table with a different skill set, and all those different skill sets combine to a pretty high level technical team. Something that's worth a lot of money in the commercial world, and most of us work in that field anyway.
So you still have that up in the air?
No, it's down.
It got turned into a Foursquare for 80 meters.
Oh.
Because he couldn't keep it up in the air. The antenna, that is. We're talking about antennas. This is going to be for the 40-meter band, which the amateur section is between 7 megahertz to 7.3 megahertz, and of course it's all in the for the purpose of radio contesting, and that's why we do what we do, because it's a chance to exercise our skills in designing things and installing them, proving that they work, and then if there's room for improvement, we'll take it down and rework it. I use a computer to model all this stuff, so we shouldn't have to take it down unless it gets broken by the weather. Plow winds, like really strong gusting winds, tornadoes, something like that. That'll ice.
Heavy icing
Yeah,
on the
but in this
antennas.
country, it's this part of the world. It's not too bad. It's not like on the East Coast where you get Rhine ice on antennas and it collect like that thick and the whole thing fails, because the structure isn't strong enough to handle that kind of weight. But here, it's like a desert, so it's pretty dry. So for the most part, the only thing that knocks antennas down is the constant vibration from light wind.
Not too much an interest in learning. We run an amateur radio program. Right now it's taught at the college, and we've got a basic program and at the end of the program you write for a license in amateur radio, and then you're allowed to start utilizing the frequencies and participate. You can participate in a lot of this stuff without the license, but you can't operate the radios by yourself until you have a license. You have to be under supervision. Some of us have spent a lot of money invested in the hobby, but it doesn't take that much to get started, to just do the bare essentials. You can get on to our 2-meter repeater system and communicate with the area right from Camrose out past Maidstone the other direction up to Cold Lake, and how far do we go down to Hannah?
Hannah, I think.
Yeah, we cover that whole area through the repeater systems, and to get on and do that, it's only a couple $100 investment in radio equipment. Some of us, I think we got a little bit more. My car is probably closer to $500 invested in the radios and antenna system. In the United States, there's about 750,000. There's about 10 times as many amateurs in the States as there is in Canada. There's quite a few in Japan. I don't know the exact numbers. It's another place where there's an awful high percentage of amateur radio operators. And of course, there's quite a few in Europe. They're scattered all over the world. Today I was in contact with Argentina, South America, quite a bit. There's quite a few stations on from down in that direction.
We have had people reporting out of the Caribbean, out of Florida, on the storms that have been happening. So when there is no communication on the island, as long as we have battery power, we still can communicate and put up some kind of an antenna system. We can get out and talk to the rest of the world.
It's a way of visiting other people, making friends over the, using the radio in far-flung places that you would never have an opportunity to meet personally, and there's no substitute for the human voice. The amateurs always play a pretty good role in that. They can set up ad hoc in adverse conditions, and they can get the word out and in without too much trouble.
So part of the challenge of learning to be a good operator is knowing which frequency to pick, which equipment to pick, how to match it with the antennas, to do the job that you want to do at hand. If we have a local disaster, we've got very high frequency, ultra high frequency bands that we put to work, moving information, whether it's by voice or even electronically moving emails between command center and the different emergency areas. If you have disasters like you have in the Caribbean right now, where they need help from outside, we would be using more of the high frequency bands where you're getting longer distance communication set up, where you're communicating in and out, asking for help, asking for supplies, giving out information of what's actually going on within the disaster zone. So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish at the time.
So over the years, would you say you've made some friends all over the world as well?
Yeah, nobody here, but all over the world.
There you go.